First one I have here is, I still call my high school coach Coach Tuttle, let's just say, for example. But why doesn't that happen in the big leagues? When does this change?
That's a really good question. I don't know if there is. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because the paycheck changes a little bit, or the status of a manager. I don't even think in the minor leagues I called my coach in the minor leagues. They were still either skipper. What are some of the other ones, Tuttle? I know that coach stops in high school, but for whatever reason, once you get past high school, it turns into something else.
College, didn't you? I guess, I don't know. I mean, you had Milano.
We called our coach Seven.
Yeah, Seven, that's right. Yeah. We had Coach Oldham, so I know, he went by Coach. But I think it's funny. My instinct is, first of all, baseball players love one syllable. So I was called I was called Tuttle most of my life, like just easier, there's a bunch of Davids or whatever, but then it turned into Tut. Hey, Tut, do this, just like Blummer turns into Blum. Hey, Blum, and we were talking about Bochy before, right? Boch, we should have made it, like you said, Coach Boch would have been a good alternative, but he might have thrown a baseball at you. I think there's some, it must be an unwritten rule of baseball is kind of what my thought were. Because you don't know why it happened or where it came from. I mean, it's a great question, but honestly, you learn really quickly. Like your first A-ball team, if you use the word coach, I mean, we had, polite guys from the South on our team. They're like, hey, Coach Michael. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to fly. It's Mike or, Skip or Mike. They just put you in your place right away. But I don't know if there is a foundational reason or some sort of historical thing that we can look to. But yeah, wouldn't you say it's like another unwritten rule of baseball was kind of my instinct?
Yeah. No, I truly believe that too. And when you're in high school or in college, it is a head coach. It's not a manager of the ball club, and I feel like baseball is the only one that's, other than maybe, and you probably know this better than I do, is the European soccer leagues have managers. They don't have head coaches. Head coaches are in football and other sports, but once you get into professional baseball, it turns into manager of the team, and I think that's where it turns from. I feel like coach is a term of endearment, where you're like, oh, coach, I love you, coach. Play hard for you, coach. And they wanted that level of respect. But once you get into professional sports, I feel like all of a sudden I am the manager, and now you will respect me and call me by either my name or skipper or something else. And skipper, really? Is this a boat that are we on the USS Minnow? Where did skipper come from?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know for a fact that, now being on the media side and being in some of these scrums, talking to managers and other hitting coaches and guys like that, I know if I really want to get under their skin or take a little jab at them as we're walking away, I would love doing it to AJ, because AJ hated the word coach. So if we got done with a media scrum and AJ had a really good scrum, he's feeling good about himself, he's all puffed up and gave all the right answers, I'd go, hey, thanks, coach, and walk away. And it would absolutely drive him bonkers when I did that. So I don't know what happened.
That's the ball player in you, because that's what I would do. You got to needle your either former teammates or people it's going to bug. I will say this that I think is kind of funny now, being in the corporate world for really longer than I played baseball. I think one of the intangible things, or kind of one of the interesting things there, is a lot of companies want to keep a hierarchy, right? Like this is your level, there's a manager,
True.
There's a VP. They like the hierarchy, and I think in some ways when we look at Bull Durham, like, hey, Crash, come on into the office and shut the door, you're like, ugh. So, we've talked about trades on here before, and when you get called into the manager's office, the skipper's office, I think there was an unusual feeling, because I can, without naming names, I got along with most of my managers or coaches, but I didn't love there you go. Well, I didn't love my A-ball manager. Well, the guys that you had to call, I got to call you Mike. Okay, great. Well, I don't really like you, Mike, but I'll call you Mike instead of coach or whatever. But, Mike would call you in the office to tell you got traded or moved up or down or whatever. And it was like, I don't know. They were trying to create this comfort, and that wasn't there. It was almost better. Like the people you didn't get along with, I wanted to call coach or skipper, because, I could give two shits about whether, they were going to send me up or down.
Put me in the lineup more often.
Yeah, right. So I think it's funny that it got away, but I do think it's like it's almost one of those unwritten rules of baseball. It probably started in the 50s or the 40s, and I don't know. But I think, like you said, European soccer is a great example because those guys, they call them the manager to the press conference at the end of the game, and there's this very specific line of delineation. Like, that guy's the manager. We work for him. We need to do what he says, that kind of thing. And baseball, it gets a little muddled, which is kind of interesting. You talked about, Bochy or Kevin Towers, like KT, these guys that respected you. And, they were guys you could call in the offseason and go fishing. And they were guys that were your friends. But sometimes that line would get blurred and people would see like, oh, they have Blummer's the teacher's pet, or, these guys have a good relationship with these guys, but not these guys.
Yep.
So I think there is something to be said for it would be interesting to call these guys skip or manager. But, now you brought up guys that we played with that are managing, like I think it would be hard to call, Booney. It would be hard to call him, manager Boone, or, it would be really difficult to go backwards after having, like you said, after playing with these guys. So I don't know. I think it's just an unwritten rule, but maybe there is something in there if you could keep that line strict. We've talked about Tony La Russa and Lou Piniella. Like, it might have been fun to just call them manager. Hey, manager. Hey, skipper.
Well,
see if you
when
can
you
get
say
under their
manager,
skin.
it sounds like they're working at the local department store too, or at the mall. I'm manager.
That's
of
my
son. Okay.
That's right. I'm the assistant to the assistant manager. So what is that? The bullpen coach is the assistant to the assistant pitching coach, and you just call him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I have no idea where it came from. It's just part of the game.
Yep. And that's a long answer to get to. We have no flipping idea.
Yeah. And a lot of it does depend on if you like the guy or not.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get notified when we post new videos.